Avoidance, aren't they fun? They block you, they ghost you, they're some of the coldest people you'll ever meet. You'll think that they're narcissists by how cold they act. They seem to disappear into thin air. But avoidance, they usually circle back. From the people I've talked to, from the books I've read, from the articles I've read, from the websites I've visited, from the YouTube videos that I myself have watched, it seems as though avoidance will actually circle back to you a little bit more often than an average ex would, if you let them go properly. If you do not let them go properly, it seems that it'll do more harm than good and will actually push them away farther. So in other words, let's say you've ended things properly with them. They've broken up with you, you let them go, you have a better chance of getting them back than you do of getting a normal ex back. But the opposite seems to be true as well, where if you screw up, if you beg and chase and do all this other nonsense, you have a greater chance of them not returning than you do of a normal ex not returning. So avoidance seemed to be the two-edged sword of the dating world. That being said, what makes an avoidant actually come back? Now, everyone knows about the 3 attachment styles, right? You have the dismissive avoidant, you have the fearful avoidant, or you have the anxious. Now, the anxious is not considered an avoidant. The anxious attachment clings when they're scared. They're very self-conscious. They tend to rank very high in neuroticism if you follow the Ocean model. They over-pursue and they can be taken as very weak by their partner. But the anxious attachment people are not who we're referring to when we say avoidance. When we say avoidance, we are referring to the 2, the dismissive and the fearful. The dismissive values independence above all else. They detach under pressure and they need space to feel safe. They tend to come back when their need for control and or curiosity is triggered. This is also why dismissive avoidants tend to be control freaks. They also tend to be more masculine. In my experience, there are more men who are dismissive avoidants than women, and that's just my experience, but that is what I've seen so far. Now, a fearful or a disorganized avoidant is torn between craving connection and pushing away from it. The fearful avoidant leaves to escape that pain, that fear of intimacy, but they come back when trust and nostalgia sort of overwrites that fear. But here's one underlying thing that all avoidants have in common when they decide to return, is when the space that you've given them feels safe and not threatening. What I mean by that is, if you are dealing with normal people, these securely attached people, and you create space, we're going to think that something's wrong. And as a matter of fact, when you come back into that space, I'm going to question why you left that space. Hey man, haven't heard from you in 3 months, what's going on? Now, to an avoidant, that immediately triggers them and they'll run again. You cannot do that, because what they'll do is they'll take that as you attacking them, and it triggers that fear all over again, triggers that core wound, and they will run faster, farther, and harder than ever before. That's why having a relationship with these types of people is so difficult, because not only do you have to give them so much space that you really do risk them cheating on you, them losing you, all of that, is that when they come back, you've got to act like nothing happened. And look, I'm not saying that if they actually did cheat on you or, leave you for somebody else, that you take them back, okay? I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is you gave them that space. They came back a few weeks, and really, here's the thing, from what I've read, they come back months later. Like, forget weeks. We're talking months later, like minimum 3 months type stuff. They come back and you want to know, like, hey, what's up? And they're going to act like nothing happened. And if you say anything that makes them feel triggered, or it makes them feel unsafe, because that's why they really returned, they will run all over again and they're gone all over again. But if you handle it correctly, especially if you're a securely attached individual like myself, when they come back and you make them feel safe, they didn't cheat on you, they didn't do anything like that, you made them feel safe enough to leave and safe enough to return, that they know they can leave and go anytime. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be waiting for them, but they know that there's always that presence in their life that they can return to, as long as they are willing to work for it. As long as they are willing to keep it, they can have that, and that's the message that you're going to deliver to them. The core driver is ambivalence. It's emotional uncertainty with them. That is what makes them return. That is, controversially, what makes them feel safe. It's not you reassuring them, which is what a secure person would want. It's the ambivalence of not knowing whether or not you're safe to return to. Maybe you're going to attack them. Maybe you're going to call them out. Maybe you're going to give them a lecture. Maybe you're going to demand an answer out of them. And all of these things just make them run again. But you cannot do that. You've got to be ambivalent, emotionally neutral with them. Let them escalate. Let them sort of slip up and tell you why they're really there before you escalate the flirtation or anything else. And the truth is, most avoidants, dismissive and fearful, they don't leave because they stopped caring about you. They left to regulate their own emotions because they don't know how to be close to somebody without triggering these core wounds. And part of learning to love them is knowing that they have got to run in order to feel loved. And that is the crazy thing about it, is that you think that they're running because they don't love you, because they want out of the relationship. And sometimes they think that too, because that's what it looks like to them. Especially if they're unaware of the fact that they're an avoidant, they think that by running somehow it's gonna help them. But what they really end up feeling is that loss, that nostalgia. It feels like a breakup even though you didn't really break up. So once time passes, once their emotions regulate down, they start to miss you and they start to crave, especially the fearful, starts to crave that safe space that they know you were a part of, that they know that you've always been. And so they kind of sheepishly come back like, hey, how have you been? Months later. And they expect you to attack them. They expect you to punish them. But instead, you just reply neutrally. Hey, how have you been? Been great. There's nothing that they could possibly do to you to shake you. That's why you've got to be secure when you're dating them. Because here's another thing that's really crazy about this dynamic. While dating an avoidant, if you're a secure or especially an anxious attachment, what tends to happen in most cases is that the secure person or the anxious person becomes more like the dismissive or more like the fearful avoidant. They end up inheriting those traits or inheriting those wounds themselves. But, and I can tell you this from experience, the reverse can also happen, where if you're dating a fearful avoidant like I have, they can actually become more secure through that relationship because you've done nothing but demonstrate strength and safety to them so that they know that, yeah, they can run. And yes, there are boundaries, of course, but they can run and they can come right back and it's okay. We don't have to talk every day or even every week, I understand. Go run, go emotionally regulate, and I'll be right here when you get back. And to be quite honest with you, if I did meet somebody while they were off doing their little shenanigans, then I'd probably give that other person a chance. I'm just not the person to push it, and I'm not the person to try and control fate like that, if you know what I mean. They return when they believe you've stopped expecting things from them. So again, this isn't fair to you at all, especially like I said, if you're secure or you're anxious, okay? Meaning you're just like the average person. This isn't fair because you do expect your partner to be there, to not leave you on red for a week, to return your phone calls in a timely manner, because anything less than that is disrespectful. And you're right. It's not something that I'm gonna try to argue against, but you've also got to understand their attachment style. And if you are going to be in a relationship with them, you understand this going in, or at least you're watching videos like this while it's happening, after it's happened, and you're understanding what your partner needs to be loved. And that is rare as in this world. See, most people, when they go into a relationship, they don't go there to give. They think you're gonna give me what I give you or I'm gone. Woo, okay. Now look, that's not a successful long-term strategy, I'll grant you that. But at the beginning of the relationship, give of yourself. You're giving them a taste of what it would be like to be official. These people who want to hold back everything because, oh, I don't have a ring on my finger. And it's like, yeah, but you've got to give them a little taste of who you are. I'm not saying to go all out, but man, you've got to give them something. Give them respect and time and love and patience and at least give them you, a small part of it, man. If you're not willing to do that, you really shouldn't be dating. Now, like I said, with the dismissive, they start to miss or fear that they're not in control of that dynamic anymore. And that control that they want to feel is different from a narcissist. See, a narcissist wants to control you because they love power. But a dismissive wants the control over the relationship, just like control over a car, because they don't want to crash. It's the same on the outside, but it's very different inside. It's that fear of losing you. It's that fear of losing that relationship that ironically makes them lose that relationship. So that fear of loss makes them want to control that entire dynamic. And oftentimes that's why a dismissive comes back. And that's why if you create a safe space for them to return and they realize that yes, there are things in this world like a relationship that you are never gonna have 100% control over because there are other people in it. Hopefully only one other person, but hey, you do you. Now, with a fearful avoidant, they start to miss the emotional security. We call them fearful because that's exactly what they are. They are terrified of intimacy, but they also crave it on a very deep level, and they might even crave it more than the average person does. That's also why most fearful avoidants end up coming back or circling back to you than most dismissives, because it's not just their fear of intimacy, It's they're craving it. And it's so much easier to reach back out to an ex than it is to really grab somebody else, even if they don't want to spark up that relationship again. So when you give them that emotional security, again, it's that safety net. It's that safety that they want to feel with you, but you have to make them earn it. That's the thing. If you give them those things straight away, they don't have to earn it or anything like that. They will disrespect the connection and the relationship all over again, and they'll do the same thing all over again. This is why they loop constantly, because the people in the relationship just don't know how to handle them. This is why chasing them never works, because chasing them, blowing up their phone, begging them to just give you closure or just return your calls, creates pressure in them. Chasing ends up creating pressure, and pressure ends up making them shut down or run. And avoidance, especially dismissive avoidance, only return when they can sense freedom and not obligation. And let's be honest, you want them back because they want you back, not because they feel obligated to come back and they, feel guilty about it. Your silence doesn't punish them. It gives them the space that they need to heal, to regulate, and yes, to miss you. So how do you get them back? Getting them to reach out is not the hard part. It's getting them to not do it again. You need to be the one who gets them, who understands them without needing them. They need to know that no matter what you do, your life is solid, complete, and here's the thing, independent and successful without them. And that sounds kind of like you're trying to glow up and make them regret, ever letting you go or running. But here's the thing, that sort of independence is what fuels their longing for you, because they know that your strength is in and of yourself. It doesn't depend on them. You see how it takes that pressure off of them to perform, to act emotionally or even physically in a manner that they do not really want to? That's how you get them not just to fall in love with you, not just to trust you, but to keep them connected and attached to you. You don't need big gestures. You just need to prove that you are a strong, independent person that doesn't need them, even if maybe you secretly think that you do. You need to demonstrate through your life that you have your own thing going on, and they can be a part of it if they want, and they can run if they want. And yeah, again, I'm not saying that if they run and go sleep with somebody else, you should take them back. But I am saying, yeah, if they run, and maybe it's a few weeks to a few months, and they want to come back, and if you want to let them back, then that's absolutely fine. That's what it takes to get an avoidant back, and that's why so few people can do it successfully. Here's the real trick of it. Avoidants leave for the same reason that they come back, and that is to regulate their deepest fears. But when that fear fades and you stay grounded, they'll remember what felt safest and what felt like home. And lil bro, lil sis, that was you the entire time. You've got this, and I've got you, and I'll see you in the next one.